Porsche Penske Motorsport took a dominant 1-2 finish at Indianapolis to set up an incredible end to the first season of GTP's comeback. After a traditional bit of Indy Turn 1 chaos saw Matthew Yamane jump pole sitter Matt Campbell, Porsche led the race until a bizarre set of events under the safety car gave Pipo Derani the lead. A mistake by Pipo restored the Porsche 1-2, and in the end Yamane and Nick Tandy took their second win of the season. Campbell and Felipe Nasr finished second, with Connor De Filippi and Nick Yellerly rounding out the podium for BMW. Action Express ended up fourth, ahead of the pair of Acuras, the 01 Cadillac and customer Porsches, with the 24 BMW a much delayed last in GTP. All this means just 5 points cover the top 3 in the championship with only Petit Le Mans to go, and 7 cars can still win the GTP title. Pipo Derani and Alexander Sims enter with a 3-point lead over Philippe Albuquerque and Ricky Taylor, with Yamane and Tandy just 2 points further back. Every other full season car but the 24 BMW still has a shot at this thing, in what truly is a contender for one of the best championship fights of all time. It's just a shame IMSA has such an inflated point system, which makes both the mental maths and the marketing that bit harder. With 385 points up for grabs at Petit Le Mans, it's really way more open than the numbers make it look. Porsche Penske were always going to be the ones to beat this weekend, given the amount of mileage they have racked up around the brickyard in testing. The intra-team fight was an entertaining one, with them changing positions on several occasions. Campbell overshot turn 1 at the start, giving Yamane the lead. Then after the driver changes, Nasr jumped Tandy on a restart, before Tandy got a monster overcut at the final round of stops to secure the dub. The pair also made contact in traffic, and I would have not been like to be near the captain had that gone much worse. BMW M Team RLL can be very happy with a podium finish after a consistent day where the 25 crew did what they've done almost all season long and just kept out of trouble to secure the best possible result. For the 24, it was another race to forget, as they had to make 3 early pit stops with mechanical woes. They ran to the end, but were too far behind to still be a factor. Action Express looked for a while like they could pull off a miracle race win, having struggled all weekend, but can be happy with retaking the points lead. Derani stayed out of trouble at the start, and deserves kudos for being alert to race control instructions under caution. When race control ordered the top class split, Porsche Penske didn't respond quick enough, meaning Derani was allowed to pass them and keep the position. But as this news filtered through, we had the bizarre sight of Derani and Tandy doing over a lap 2 abreast under caution. A mistake from Derani cost him the lead, but realistically they didn't have the pace to hold on to victory anyway, and 4th is still a great result considering how they were looking on Friday. WTR Andretti had a race to forget, picking up damage lap 1 turn 1 and losing a lap when they tried to predict a caution which didn't come after an issue for Ashton Harrison's GTD Acura. 5th place was still a solid recovery drive, especially as they didn't show the pace to challenge for the win, and although they've lost the points lead, they're now set up well to go hunt the title at Petit. Meyershank Racing were another team who got caught up at turn 1, with the Acura sustaining front end damage. The team elected to do a nose change under caution, which dropped them to the back of GTP, and from there they recovered to 6th, which still remains their joint worst result of the season after an incredible run of consistency. Colin Brown was catching Albuquerque late on, but was never near enough to get on terms. The big losers of the Turn 1 incident were Chip Ganassi Racing, as Sebastian Bourdais was looped around in front of the pack after contact with the 24. I did say we could expect issues at Turn 1, but an LMP2 moving up to 5th overall briefly was even more messy than I imagined. A lap 1 caution meant this was quickly rectified by the top class split though. JDC Miller Motorsports just didn't quite get it together this weekend and had to settle for an 8th place finish, which impressively is their worst result to date. As opposed to the likes of CTMP, this weekend there was a clear gap between Porsche Penske and their customer outfits. And for the second week in a row, it was a minor issue which cost Proton Competition dearly. This time, it was leaving a tyre outside of their pit box, which docked them a drive-through, and Indy is the costliest track on the calendar for a drive-through penalty. LMP2 victory went to Mikkel Jensen and Stephen Thomas, who retook the points lead for TDS Racing. The LMP2 field was split in half by teams on two different strategies. Those that pitted as soon as their bronze drive time was up and would need a caution to make it to the end without an extra stop, and those who waited until they were within the pit window. In the end, the former proved to be the better option. Dan Goldberg was very impressive on his LMP2 debut, on the pace straight away and finishing second along with Louis Delatraz, who did an incredible job of fuel saving late on. But unfortunately for Thomas, Goldberg isn't eligible for Jim Truman Award points. In this competition, which is scored slightly differently to the main championship, Ben Keating and George Kurtz are joint championship leaders, with Thomas 20 points back. 20 points the other pair gained due to Goldberg's effective invisibility. Kurtz deserves a special mention just for his incredible avoiding action, after Dwight Merriman had a terrifying spin at the exit of the final corner. AWA took the LMP3 win, ending Riley's incredible run of 4 in a row, but Gar Robinson will only need to start at Petit Le Mans to take the title. People love a joke about LMP3s and incidents, but as far as I can remember, they were pretty clean this weekend. In fact, more often than not, when LMP3s went off the road, the fault lay with cars from other classes. WeatherTech Racing came out on top in GTD Pro, with a return to form taking them to victory lane. Behind, Vassar Sullivan finished third, 2 places ahead of Corvette Racing and growing their points lead to 188. Starting at Petit will be enough to make them 2023 champions. The Corvettes simply just didn't have the pace this weekend, and despite some great pit work putting them ahead of the Lexus, Antonio Garcia was powerless to keep Ben Barnicoat behind. Still, it was a pretty sweet move to put the Lexus back ahead. Pfaff Motorsport started from pole, but their race instantly fell apart when Klaus Bachler changed lanes before the green flag. A big no-no. Winward Racing took the victory in GTD, as the team have finally found some luck to end their awful 2023 on a high. Forte Racing was second, having lost the lead after contact with the Winward car, with Paul Miller Racing finishing third to seal the championship with a race to spare. You won't find anyone who doesn't think they deserve it, after their record-breaking 5 wins in a season, and they also secured the Sprint Cup title, just in case one trophy wasn't enough. Several GTD teams had issues today. We had contact between the Vassar Sullivan Lexus and Inception Racing McLaren, the cars fighting for third in the championship, and AO Racing had probably their best run of the year ruined after Roxy was hit by an LMP3. Caught off Preston Motorsport, note the slightly different team name they've introduced, led early on, but never recovered from a drive-through given for contact with the Sean Creech LMP3 of Lance Wilsey. With 48 cars spread across 2.5 miles, we got the expected chaos with plenty of incidents throughout, and even more near misses. And however much I love IMS, I'm still not 100% sure if it's the ideal multi-class circuit, but it's definitely worth giving another crack next year. I know NASCAR have moved some of their restart zones to avoid incidents on road courses this season, and maybe IMSA should look at doing something similar to keep Indy Turn 1 as clean as possible in 2024, when an even bigger grid is expected. Who was your star of the race in the Battle of the Bricks? Please let me know in the comments below, and whilst you're down there, why not press that like button and subscribe to the channel? It really helps me out.